GMB.TV. Hope you're having a good one. What's good? What's good? What's good? There's a lot going on in this last couple of days in the trading market. Just all over the place. So we've got tension in China around Taiwan. China is absolutely moving forward with basically war games around Taiwan, sending a message because there was an arms deal. The reason why that's a big deal is because Taiwan is where all the chips are made. That's something we have to pay attention to because it is going to affect our bag should anything pop off. That is also something we should be paying attention to because of all the tensions that are going on in Venezuela, because about 10% or something like that of the fuel that China needs comes from Venezuela. So messages are being sent. That's what that boils down to. Does it have an economic impact? Yes. Right? Brian Moynihan gave an interview and he said, listen, you know, the tariff talks are kind of de-escalating, or he predicts that they will de-escalate. This was in an interview a month ago, and he's saying, well, you know, I think things will de-escalate. And I'm sitting back and I'm going, I don't understand how they're going to de-escalate. Let's break down de-escalation from a money perspective, from our bag's perspective. The damage has been done already. The damage from the tariff wars have already been done. They haven't gone away. They're still here. They might be a little bit less, but they are still here. They're still damaging small and medium-sized businesses and giving large businesses question marks above their heads. So I want you to stop and think about that. So the tensions around tariffs can be de-escalating, but the tariffs themselves, yeah, no, they're still here. They are absolutely still here. Which leads me into something I've been talking about for a while, which is I saw a news report this morning, several. It's a pain in the butt. But let's do it because everybody keeps talking about it. Apparently, GDP is up 4.3%, right? That's a good thing, right? Until you look at the bifurcation of who's actually spending. The top 10% of people with the top 10%. Okay? People with money account for 50% of the spend. I want you to just let that wash over you a little bit more. The top 10% income owners in the United States, or income earners rather, in the United States account for 50% of U.S. spend. 50. The remaining 90% of the people out there account for the other 50%. The economy is being carried by those that have. Okay? Let's get that straight. So every time I hear somebody out there talking about, oh, the economy's good, the economy's good, I would scream at the top of my lungs, nobody work with this person because they're not giving you the whole truth, nothing but the truth. That's what I would say. And the reason why is because there's a drastic difference between only 10% of these rich people up here, these wealthy people are spending 50% of the money in the United States, and the other 90% are spending the other 50%. 90% of the people are hurting. 90% of the people are out there looking for jobs. We're expecting more layoffs early Q1 2026. That means starting this week, okay? That's what we're looking at. So every time I hear, you know, some financial advisor, some financial planner on one of these big shows talking about, oh, you know, the economy's doing great, it's 4.3. Meanwhile, I'm listening to economists say, yeah, that is in no way a sign of a strong economy. Because you must pay attention to that bifurcation. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. Be careful out there. Do your own research. Know your entries and exits and absolutely invest deliberately. That's the GMB3. I'm not trying to sell you crypto. I'm not trying to sell you stocks or anything like that. I'm trying to share with you what I share with my kids. Pay attention to what's being said. Pay attention to what's being sold and how it's packaged. And pay attention to what's actually happening. If you're hanging out with your friends and you notice that your friends are not spending money, ding. If you're hanging out with your friends and you're realizing your friends, wait a minute, still live at home. Now, don't get me wrong. I think that's a great thing. Okay. My kids are in their early 20s. I still have a kid in the teens. He's 18. My oldest is about to be 26 in March. So, tight range. But if you're in your 20s and you still live at home, that's a sign. If you're graduating from college and you can't find a job, that's a sign. Looks like, feels like, smells like back in the day. Then you've got all kinds of banking regulations being pulled back. Subprime lenders being called out. You had a subprime lender get 5 years. 2 guys from a subprime lender in the UK get 5 years. Recently, like last week. It didn't go away. Subprime lending didn't go away. They shuffled. They changed names. They repackaged. Yeah. What do you think is going on now? People right now, you're seeing more adjustable prime rate mortgages happening versus regular 30-year mortgages. You even have 40-year mortgages. Let that wash over you a little bit. Let that sink in a little bit. So everything that we saw an uptick before, a downturn before, is starting to take hold. You know what we're paying attention to now? Record highs for silver, record highs for gold. Yeah, you're starting to pay attention to that, and you're starting to say to yourself, whoa, there's a lot for me to be paying attention to now. There's a lot for us to be paying attention to now. Indeed, there is. That's why I beg of you every single day, do your own research, know your entries and exits, and absolutely invest deliberately. That means develop your risk framework. Because if you don't invest, you're destined to fail. We're going to have to, not even going to have to. We must right now, this moment, we must invest in order to survive. We must invest in order to survive. Straight up. I don't care what anybody else tells you. You've got to be in the game. And remember, that first investment is in you. The first investment is in you. Learning about money, learning about value, learning about fiat, learning about crypto, stocks, bonds, options. Because if you don't learn, you're destined to be taken advantage of. Straight up. Now, can you make money in this market, in this tumultuous market? Yes. Can you lose money? Yeah. Which is why I say invest in yourself. What else do we have? Galaxy Digital CEO. This is a good one. Galaxy Digital CEO Mike Novogratz criticizes XRP and ADA for limited on-chain activity and lack of utility. Mike. I like him because he's outspoken. I like him because he speaks his mind. I'll tell you that right now. I don't always agree with him, like now. Right? But XRP has already demonstrated utility. I don't know why he's mixing XRP with Cardano. XRP has already demonstrated utility, and it's going to continue to do so. Good morning, Peter. What's up? Don't forget to invest in yourself today. So on his point about, and I think he's talking more about to the masses, right? So XRP to institutions has proven its worth. It's already involved there. But in the broader spectrum, I can actually agree. In the broader spectrum, XRP has not. In the broader spectrum, retail, Cardano has not. They talk a good game. They talk about advancements and all this stuff, but they're not packaging properly. They're not marketing properly to the retail space. This is what Cardano can do for you. This is what XRP can do for you. That's where they're kind of missing out. I mean, XRP, like I said, has an institutional market. Ripple's not worried. XRP Army, not worried. Can they do better? Absolutely. Cardano, on the other hand, you have no market. Now, a lot of people are going to come at me out over that, but really stop and think about it. You do not have a name in any market. You're used. And mind you, I'm a holder of both. I have nice, healthy bags of both. So this is coming from somebody who believes. That ought to tell you something. Right there, that ought to tell you something. But I want you to think about this. Do you hear about Cardano? They have, even though Charles Hoskinson has kind of stepped to the side from being a speaking voice for Cardano, Cardano still followed the same playbook. They have yet to get real marketing in place, real outreach in place to explain their case. They just keep doing these technological wow advancements. They're only a wow to geeks like me. They're not a wow to anybody else. Let's get that straight. Oh, we introduced midnight. What the hell is it? What is it meant to do? Is it competitive to Cardano? Is it a complement to Cardano? I don't think you've explained it all the way, nor have you actually explained what's going on with everything. Just how do they relate? And what do they do for me? Peter Morton, to answer your question, the cycle is elongated. It's not a question, but it's a statement. In response to your statement, there is no more cycle. Done. 50 million more points to make. I think I had 21 articles today. I'm not going to be able to get to it all in this morning's show, but I will tell you to go to growmybag.tv and you'll find all the articles there. They're already published. All the articles are up. AML bot. I found this to be very interesting. AML bot, anti-money laundering. It's a bot that's set up to check the various, stable coins out there or companies out there like Tether, like, Circle, that are blocking addresses, that are actually trying to help in that space. AML bot found Tether froze $3.29 billion in USDT from 2023 to 2025, surpassing USDC's 109 million. Now, I want you to stop and think about this. What that says is that, well, Tether is the largest stablecoin on the planet by far. But USDC by Circle is number 2. And 3.29 billion versus 109 million is a big difference between, I'm expecting proportionate numbers. Those are not proportionate numbers. That says that Tether is far more active in helping to track down and block addresses from continued access. That's big. So every time I turn around and I hear that, circle this, circle that, USDC, I sit back and I just go, I'm always going to use Tether. Maybe every now and then I'll have to use USDC because there's a trade that I want to do, and that combination works mathematically for me. Saving money, making money off the trade. Okay. But my default is always going to be USDT. And it's going to be USDT for a couple of reasons. I just like their business model. I just like how they're handling business. Yes, they've got USDT, but they are absolutely taking their money and expanding their reach beyond crypto. I like the business model. I like how they're moving. Just saying. Just saying. What else happened? Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong warned Bitcoin could erode the dollar's reserve status if inflation persists. He's not wrong. He's absolutely not wrong. Coinbase also reported that a $180 million to $400 million remediation cost after a data breach affecting 69,461 users in India with ongoing regulatory investigations in the United States, EU, and the UK. That means that, well, yeah, we took a little bit of a hit. And we handled it like champs. I can't get mad at that. I can't get mad at that. The point about Bitcoin eroding the dollar's reserve status, yeah. I mean, that's not an argument. That's a yes. That's what's happening. It's being proven time and time again, and we're going to see it. We're going to see it. We're going to watch it in real time. We're going to watch that grow. We're going to watch that grow. And a lot of people out there are thinking, oh, no, there's no way. And I'm sitting back and I'm saying, no, yes, way. Yes, very much way. Pay attention to it because that's what's going on. That really is what's going on. So pay attention to what's out there. Do your own research, know your entries and exits, and absolutely invest deliberately. I bring up these tidbits of information so that you can take this information and go do more research and come up to your own conclusions. I have my opinions on them and I share them with you. Here's what I reported and here's my opinion about it. That's basic formula of what I try to follow. Coinbase's 2026 outlook highlighted regulatory advances. True. I agree with that. Spot ETFs. I think that we're going to see ETFs grow in 2026. And I think ETFs will hit a peak in 2026. I'm going to leave it at that. Right? And he's saying there are more Ethereum upgrades. Ethereum is a powerhouse, and we're going to get into that in a little bit. And a $1.2 trillion stablecoin market by 2028. I think there are going to be a lot of players in the ETF space that are going to take a hit. Why, Eddie? How, Eddie? They're going to take a hit because I think some of these ETFs that they want to spawn, that they want to launch, that they've got paperwork on, some of them are long shots, like ridiculously long shots. And I think you'll wind up seeing a peak in 2026 timeframe, a kind of leveling off around 2027, and maybe a few falling off or being merged with. You'll see that number dwindle, in my humble opinion. That's what I believe. What else do we have going on? TRM Labs linked Russian cyber criminals to laundering $35 million in crypto from the 2022 LastPass breach. That's research. That's what research is coming back with. Something else that's going on in the Solana space, a U.S. court scrutinized Solana's meme coin market, mainly Pump.fun, alleging unfair transaction ordering and maximal extractable value tools, meaning if I'm traversing blockchain, right? I'm managing the blockchain. I can determine where I want this block to actually go, right? Where I want that packet to go. In terms of which block I want it to travel with. This packet will make me, this path will make me earn more money. This one will make me less. Which one do you think I'm going to do? So they have tools that will help them identify that and handle the transaction. That's what the scrutiny is from. That's what the scrutiny is from. And then I recognize that Anthony Scaramucci is like, Solana could take over and have a larger market cap than Ethereum. And I'm like, bruh, stop it. You're hurting my feelings. You're hurting my feelings. Now, For the record, he's on the record. Hey, look, listen, he owns Solana. He owns a lot of Solana. He backs Solana. I happen to think that Anthony Scaramucci is an incredibly smart guy. He knows what he's talking about. Right? Forget about his political past and all that good stuff. The guy knows what he's talking about. The guy is smart. But here's where we would have the debate. I do not believe, or I am not of the belief that Solana can take over Ethereum. Ethereum, to me, would have to just sit there. To me, Ethereum would have to sit there, right? And for Solana to take over Ethereum, Solana has to go through XRP. I'm just saying. I'm not trying to be funny or anything like that. We'll get into the numbers a little bit and I'll show you. But right now, Solana is lower than XRP, right? Solana's at 70 billion. XRP is at 113 billion. BNB is at 117 billion. Ethereum is at 357 billion. So from 70 billion to 357 billion, you have a little bit of a ways to go. And Ethereum keeps making upgrades, as you can see, with upgrades planned for next year. Next year, starting in a couple of days. Excuse me. Where you really do have opportunities for Solana to do well. But you've got to do well against XRP, BNB. Good luck. And then Ethereum, the chosen platform for development, good luck. Once Solana coin gets listed on Coinbase, Solana is going to rise and maybe pass XRP and sit under Ethereum. No, I disagree. I respect your point. But Peter, I disagree. And the reason why I disagree is because Solana has a massive problem when it comes to decentralization and transparency. And it's going to have to battle coins on that one point, decentralization and transparency. They might have gotten over their network issues. I'm not 100% sure yet, but they've been doing okay thus far. But I do not think that they've truly shaken off that whole decentralization piece. I also don't think that they've shaken off the idea that, well, you say you can move a lot of packets, you say you can move a lot of data, say you can do this, and you say you can do that. But data still seems to show that you're still dropping packets a lot, which means that your efficiency of your network is not as good as, not as solid as an XRP, not as solid as an Ethereum, not as solid as a BNB. Can't have this conversation without talking about BNB. If the market shoots up, right, when the water rises, all ships rise, the size of BNB's ship is huge. It's huge. And you've got to get through BNB. And BNB moves a lot of data. It moves a lot of data. Strangely enough, also across Ethereum. Just saying. So I think it'll be a long time. Can it happen? Mathematically, it could happen. Will it happen? I think the chances are extremely low. When I say extremely low, I'm saying I don't think it'll happen. But there are chances that it could happen. But like I said, you've got to blow XRP out of the water, and XRP has already proven itself to be far more secure, far faster, far cheaper. So it's got to make moves like that. And I don't think it has that kind of gusto to do it. I really don't. You've got CME, the CME group has raised silver margin requirements to $25,000 on March, as March 2026 futures. Yeah, reflecting supply. Not just supply constraints, but also historical market crash patterns and physical silver shortages and industrial demand. Problem. Peter, you just hurt my feelings with that comment, man. You're going to make me cry. You seriously forgot about BNB? Bruh. You cannot forget about BNB. Everybody likes to compare Solana to Ethereum, and it's like, you can't get past XRP. Speed, security, latency, all that. XRP smacks the crap out of you. And you want to go after Ethereum, you still have to surpass BNB. Now, has it happened before? I believe so, yes. Can that be sustained? No. No. Market goes up, all ships rise. And I think the potential of BNB rising far beyond Solana, oh yeah. And when everything gets pumping for XRP with all of the implementation that they're doing on the institutional side, yeah, that's going to force retail buy-in. Yeah, I don't see how Solana pulls that off at all. At all. I don't see it. Like I said, mathematically, it could happen. I just think the chances are super duper slim and nil. What else we have going on? Because there's a lot of news and I actually do want to get through it all. Silver did hit a record $84 today, this morning, hit a record of $84. Digital asset treasury companies face a bleak outlook in 2026. This is correct. It started in 2025. It's going to spill over into 2026. And I'm going to tell you now, I'm absolutely expecting a lot of these treasury companies to fall by the wayside. They don't know what the hell they're doing. Most of them are coming from real businesses, couldn't survive in those real businesses or thought it was a good idea to transition. Stupid pet trick. Know your business, know your lane, stay in it. Own your lane, stay in it. You want to do something else? Start a new business. But I think they all started this business when everything was hot and heavy and thought, oh my gosh, I should get in. You FOMO'd in at the wrong time. Everybody's trying to follow, that strategy playbook. Strategy got in when it was over here. And then when it took that drop from 69,000 all the way down to like 15, 16,000, they were still in the game. That's why now their average price is like $75,000 for Bitcoin. Just saying. And then you have treasury companies that are doing things like treasury company, with Solana, treasury company with freaking just off the wall. Good luck with that. You have a greater chance of a Solana treasury firm falling off the face of the planet than you ever will with an XRP or a Bitcoin or Ethereum, right? But these off the wall, Solana treasury companies, what were you thinking? Just saying, what were you thinking? Overkill, what's good? What else do we have before we get into the numbers? We've got Bank of Japan raised its policy rate to 75 basis points. We know this, but it's affecting the rest of the world, the highest since 1995. What else do we have? Copang compensated 37.7 million customers, $1.17 billion after a data breach exposing personal data, with a 43-year-old suspect arrested and phishing attempts rising. What else do we have? That's South Korea, by the way. Copang at South Korea. They're basically the Shopify of South Korea. And don't forget, Shopify is not the US. Shopify is Canada. Let's keep it even, Stephen. Then you've also got Ripple CTO David Schwartz acknowledging Cardano's Midnight project, signaling crypto competition. He's looking at Midnight versus XRP, and he's seeing, that could be some competition. Speed, cost, latency. That all leads toward dependability. And I want you to stop and think about this. We just had Mike Novogratz and yours truly talk about how Cardano needs to change its marketing perspective, how to get out there and do something. This is not Cardano doing something. This is Ripple. This is the C2 of Ripple recognizing something. You need a hell of a lot more than that. A hell of a lot more than that to get there. Anyway, you know what we should do? That's right. We should get into the numbers. So let me take care of that real quick. Let me get my notes out of the way. You know, I like to start with the stock market. Dow futures implied open up 6 points, basically unchanged. S&P futures implied open 14.25, basically unchanged. NASDAQ futures, however, down 98.5. That's not a nudge. That's down 98.5. Oil up $1.28. US 10-year down 0.16. Interesting. S&P futures slip after benchmark index hits fresh record. Of course, a little bit. People just wetting their beak a little bit, taking their win, registering a win in this last couple of days. Not surprising. Not surprising at all. Looking at who's got stuff coming up. Let's look at the whole week. Any numbers coming up? Barnes and Noble Education. Anybody else I'm paying attention to? Big Lots, another one I'd pay attention to. Auto Parts for Less, I'd pay attention to. I like to identify, what markets are out there that are actually moving for me. Those are ones I'd be paying attention to. I don't have anything held in those, but those are ones I would be paying attention to. Looking at this week, what do we have? That was last week. What do we have this week? S&P Case-Shiller Home Price Index happens tomorrow morning at 9. Chicago Business Barometer PMI happens tomorrow 9:45. Minutes from the Fed's December FOMC meeting happens tomorrow as well at 2 p.m. So to understand those Fed minutes is going to be really, really interesting and give us a tell for January. I think it might be January 6th, but that's going to give us a tell. So we should be paying attention to that. That's from the Fed. Now, what else do we have going on? Feed and greed index is at 25. Is at 24. It's been hovering around that area for a long time. We're still in extreme fear, at the edge of extreme fear and just regular fear. Still hovering. Oh boy, that's a no bueno. Let me see. That's the one I'm supposed to be looking at. There you go. Yeah, I messed up. So what else do you have? You've got DeFi Llama. We're at $120.19 billion in total value locked. Doggone well, I like to be above 125 in this current market infrastructure. It's not going well, but will it? And my answer is yes, I believe it will. What else do we have going on? BTC, Bitcoin itself. Look at that. That's almost a damn straight line. We're still bouncing between 82,490 and 93,434. I want you to pay attention to that. We're moving laterally within this space, sometimes with nice upward momentum, big drops, upward momentum, but we're still moving laterally, which is why my light back here is amber, because we're just moving laterally within a certain space. We need to break into above 93,434 and manage this space for a little bit. And I think we're headed for a stair step up. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking we're going to stair step up for a little bit, and then we'll come down. Okay, I'm going to say it right now. That really looks to me like a like a scam. So we're just going to remove that. Because that's shilling a coin, and we don't do that here. We don't shill coins, and you're saying it as if everybody knows about it. It sounds like, it feels like a bot, looks like a bot, smells like a bot. Got to treat it like a bot. What else do we have? Looking at the big board, what do we have? Again, in this market space, I'm going to tell you, I still see a hell of a lot of stuff on sale. I'm going to do my own research. I'm going to know my entries and exits, and I'm absolutely going to invest deliberately. But what I see on sale, for me, BTC, BCH, ETH, XRP, Solana, if you're into that kind of thing, ADA, BNB, Sui, Dot, Litecoin, Avalanche. I would still put my toe in a little bit of VeChain, Doge, Link. I still love SHIB. Yeah, I still love SHIB. Don't hold it against me. Uniswap, Aave. Definitely, I'm putting my money into Aave, even though they have some restrictions going on. Not restrictions, but a little bit of strife going on within. I still like Aave. Leo, if you've done your research, there's Hype, XMR, HBAR. You still have a lot of opportunities here to actually make money. Ton is another one. Sui, obviously. But I think what you need to do is you need to do your own research. You need to know your entries and exits, and you absolutely must invest deliberately. Absolutely must invest deliberately. So those are the reasons why I think you should be doing your own research, developing your your risk framework. Your risk framework is basically your gut. Your gut's telling you I should do this, I should not do that. Write down what your gut is telling you when your gut is telling you to do yes or no. Why? Because believe it or not, your gut is back here. It's not down here. It's the quick calculation that your brain makes that lets you know, hey, not into that. Do you think privacy and AI can be the next big thing? I think privacy already is. I think AI is overhyped. I think the next step in AI is going to be what my company does, which is true business process management, right? But I think AI has been sold as a panacea, and it's not. And I think that's where companies are messing up. I think big players like OpenAI, NVIDIA, I think they suffer from that overhype. I think they suffer from, investing in each other and think that whole cyclical, investment thing, because I really do think that companies are going to start realizing, oh, I need to have my own AI in-house, and they're going to bring AI in-house, which is going to not have that much of an impact on NVIDIA, but at least a little one, right? Because you're not going to need these huge data centers. So the overselling of data center space, it's going to have a hit on energy. There are just so many things around AI that I just think that need a kind of check on themselves, right? I think solutions providers like my company are going to do well. I think that chip manufacturers on the lower end are going to do well, right? I mean, my team we have 10 different nodes around the world so that we can do our own AI. Our machines, we own them, we bought them, our machines. I think we need to actually stop and say to people, hey, look, listen, you can achieve, we did benchmark testing over the weekend for S and Gs, S and giggles. And we recognized that, listen, Qwen 330B, right? The mixture of experts gives us as good, if not better results than ChatGPT 5, than ChatGPT that's out there right now. Go figure. You're already seeing that, I don't need, so that means that if I do it in-house, I don't have to pay money. That you damn right. My laptop can run AI. So what do I need your AI for? Why am I paying you? OpenAI is not going to be able to sustain that business model. OpenAI, Anthropic, Perplexity, I don't think they're going to be able to sustain those business models. Not when you have China having the same business models for ridiculously cheaper, and taking the very same models that they're using for those business models, taking those very same LLMs and releasing it to the public. So saying that we can run this for you, or you could do it on your own for free. Instead of like OpenAI saying, well, you get this watered down version of what we're actually using right now. Do you see the difference? That business model has been crushed, and it hasn't caught up to the brains of everybody yet. So now what? There's going to have to be an adjustment in that AI space. There's going to have to be an adjustment. And all these companies running around saying, oh, we're laying people off because of AI and efficiency and blah, blah, blah. BS. It's complete and utter BS. They want to have cheaper labor. Here in the United States, that's happening because they want to have cheaper labor. Let's call it what it is. I get it. I totally get it. However, if you're not hiring people here in the United States and you're offshoring or importing H-1B visa people, you're making it so that people can't afford your products and services. And when is that going to dawn on you? When are you going to stop and go, oh, that's a bad thing? If people can't afford to eat, they can't buy your food. If people can't afford to eat, they're too tired to work. See how that goes? Everything plays into each other. Everything plays into each other, which is why I talk about crypto, stocks, bonds, options, markets, all that stuff. Everything with regard to investing. This is why I tell everybody, go do your own research. Because the current business model that the United States businesses are taking is not sustainable. I know that there are companies out there that have a target of 70% of their technology workforce being in India and places like Bangladesh. 70%. I'm sorry. That means that 70% of those jobs you're looking to push overseas. And what happens to those people here? They can't afford your products and services anymore because they're out scrambling for jobs. And then when you realize that you've got to bring those jobs back for whatever reason, what's going to happen? Those people are out of touch because they've had to go find other jobs. You wanted them at lower rates. That might not work because your desperation is going to raise those salaries again. Companies that are taking a smarter review, a smarter approach to resource management are going to weather the storm a lot better than these extreme companies. Companies that can't define enough profit, enough money making. We need to start taking care of our people. Why is that? Well, I don't know, because rent has shot up. The prices of houses have shot up by hundreds of percents, while salaries have only risen like 66. The stretch between your salary and being able to own a house, that's not the American dream anymore. It's not the American dream anymore. You have it set up right now where people graduating from college are thinking, I don't need to buy a house. I want to buy experience. I want to have experiences. I want to travel. I want to do that. And why is that? Well, I can't afford a house. I know I can't afford a house. I'm living at home with mom and dad because I can't afford my own place. Telling you, companies that are thinking about who their customers are, who their true customers are, who their true demographic is, are going to start to realize, oh man, we were treating people like consumers instead of treating them like customers, and we're going to start paying the price for it. Maybe not now, but in a little while, they're going to start paying the price for it because those consumers, those people that they treat as data points, are not going to be able to buy their stuff. And so now not only have they lost the customer, they've lost the consumer data. People think this is funny. It's not. All the way down to people having their own chicken coops on their property so they think they can afford eggs. Beef prices are about to go up. Food prices have already gone up. They haven't come down. They continue to rise. So when we look at all of these layoffs and everything else, I'm telling you, AI is a good thing. It's being used as a scapegoat, hence all the hype. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm not here for that. I'm not here for that. Privacy is going to be a big thing because in places like New York, you got cameras everywhere. You have cameras everywhere invading privacy. You want to know why a CBDC failed in the United States? One step too far. One step too far. Problem is, they're going to start treating stablecoins as pseudo CBDCs. That's why Tether is going to come out with another stable coin that is US compliant, because they're not going to mix up the formula that they currently have for USDT. Smart. Very smart. So I'm just saying, there are things going on that we should be paying attention to. Do your own research, know your entries and exits, and absolutely invest deliberately. That will help. Anyway, everybody, this is Eddie J on crypto for growmybag.tv. I hope you like what I'm doing. If you do me a favor, smash the likes, tell your friends about this community, and if you can, go become a member. It's $1 a month over on growmybag.tv, where you can see the 21 different articles that we just published this morning, and the other about 13,000 that we have on there, not including the videos. Just saying, there's a lot over there that can help you, and there's a lot over there that you can learn from. Become a member. It's a good thing. Everybody have a great day. I'll see you tonight on the Overflow at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. As always, thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience. And as always, thank you for your trust. Everybody have a good one. Bye-bye.